And the subject of my talk this morning is what I have learned in monastic life. This is second part of the talk. I gave the first part some days ago. And I am living in America. I've been here for more than 44 years. And this country is like heaven to whom? It is like heaven to the doctors and also it is heaven to all kinds of pets. Wherever you go, you see pet hospitals and all these things. And doctors of all kinds. They can make a good living here because people are very much body conscious. But in my monastic life, since the day I joined the order almost, I've been taught that we are not bodies. We are not bodies. We are divinity. And this teaching was given to me first by Swami Bhaskaranandaji when I was a newly joined brahmachari in the ashrama in Shillong. And then when I was in Belur Math, our headquarters, then Swami Vireshwaranandaji, who was at that time the General Secretary of our entire order, and he was respected as a highly spiritually evolved monks by all of us. He was a disciple of the Holy Mother, Sri Sarada Devi. And we know her to be a divine incarnation. So Vireshwaranandaji once said to us, and we are at the time not even sannyasis, brahmacharis. He said to us, how do you know whether a monk is ill or well? Then he gave the answer. He said, if you see that the monk is lying in bed and he is unable to lift his head from the pillow, then know that he is ill. But if he can sit up on the bed, then know that he is well. People love to talk about their bodies. So, having been in the order for more than 63 years, I have learned that I am not my body. That's why when I talk to people, I don't ask them, how are you? This is one way of reminding people of their bodies, etc. There is no one actually who is free from some physical problem or physical illness. That's why in ancient Hindu medicine, which is called Ayurveda, there is a saying, Shariram Vyadhi Mandiram. This body is the temple of diseases. And here people are so body-minded and that it is a heaven for the doctors of all kinds. That's what I said at the beginning. But Swami Vireshwaranandaji taught us that we are not our bodies. We should not give too much importance to our bodies. These bodies can be used only for the service of God. That's why the bodies are there. And he also taught us that we should not want praise or anything after giving a lecture. He said, a day will come when you will become sannyasis, you will become swamis, and then you will be asked to give lectures. And after the lecture, some people will come and say, oh, your lecture was wonderful. And don't give any importance to what they say. Ignore those comments, he said. That means we should not crave praise or anything. Those who crave praise, they bolster their false ego. We have become monks in order to efface our ego. I said in the past also that our order, according to some elderly monks, or according to all monks, so to say, is in India it is called Ramakrishna Mission. That name was given by Swami Vivekananda, who founded our monastic organization. He called it Ramakrishna Mission. It is not Ramakrishna Mission, it is Ramakrishna Machine. What kind of machine? Ego crushing machine. It crushes your ego. When you join, if you think you are somebody, then having been in the order, you have to learn to think that you are nobody. You are not your body. You are that spirit eternal. You are divinity itself. I will talk about that a little later, why we are not our body. So, we have come to the monastic order to be nobodies. And this ego is a great barrier to spiritual growth. And so, I'm sorry to say that some of our monks who could not get rid of the false ego had to eventually leave the order. When I was at our headquarters in Beluru Math in India, then very close to the headquarters there is a large center of the Ramakrishna Order called Pt2. It ran many educational institutions. One of them was a BT college, Bachelor of Training. Those who want to be teachers, they would get their degrees there. And there was a Swami, who was highly educated, who used to take care of that place. And he had many good qualities, but unfortunately he had a big ego. One day, our General Secretary, I was in his office at that time, told me, ask that monk to come and see me. Then I called that center and somebody answered. I said, please ask the Swami to come and see our General Secretary. Then he went, he is now walking in the front yard. I said, go and ask him. And tell him that the General Secretary wants to see him. I have to talk to him. Then that person went, and after 1 or 2 minutes came back and said, he says he is not coming now. He has to do his walking. I informed the General Secretary about that. Usually we respect senior monks. That is the tradition. But that monk did not do that. He was being asked by our General Secretary, a very senior monk, and highly evolved spiritually too. But that monk would not come and see him. He would rather walk. Eventually, that monk left the order. And I don't know what he did after leaving the order, but he was gone. Then there was another monk who was also very educated and very efficient in doing things. He could talk to people very nicely and all these qualities he had. And he was asked by our order to conduct some relief activities in India, in some area of India. And he went there. But after a while, some adverse report about him came to the headquarters. I was then at the headquarters office, one of the monks working there. And Swami Bhuteshanandaji was the Assistant General Secretary, and he was in charge of relief operations also. So he had asked the monk to come and see him. The monk came and started talking to Swami Bhuteshanandaji. And Bhuteshanandaji was very famous. Famous means we respected him highly for his spiritual life. He was a disciple of Swami Saradanandaji. Saradanandaji is one who is considered one of the close apostles of Sri Ramakrishna, who is a divine incarnation. And about Saradanandaji, Swami Vivekananda said, Sharat, that was his pre-monastic name. Sharat is like a sandfish. His blood never becomes warm. That means he would never become agitated or anything. Eventually, Swami Saradananda had to become the first General Secretary of our order. Anyway, so Swami Bhuteshanandaji was his disciple, and he had inherited that quality from his guru, it seems. He would not become agitated. I was with him for how many years? Oh, at least 12 years in the headquarters. And when I was a very young boy, we were 5 years old, I saw him in the city where I grew up, the city called Shillong. And there he was there in the Shillong ashrama of the Ramakrishna Order. But anyway, so Swami Bhuteshanandaji was sitting, and that monk went on talking in a very insulting way. And we were wonderstruck. I said, how could he speak to a senior monk like that? But Bhuteshanandaji was unperturbed. He didn't mind his insult or anything. And he was sent again to work at a relief center of the Ramakrishna Order. That Swami eventually was made the head of a particular center. The center was in Bihar, in the province of Bihar. And he was quite efficient. But his problem was his ego. Eventually, he left the order. And after leaving, he started his own organization. Yes, this is what ego does. That's why the very senior elderly monks used to say that Ramakrishna mission is Ramakrishna machine, ego-crushing machine. I saw egolessness in many Swamis in India. I have already talked to you about Swami Bhuteshanananda a little, but now I will talk about Swami Gambhirananda. Yes, Swami Gambhirananda eventually became one of our presidents, but at that time he was the general secretary of our order, and he was in our headquarters, which is in Belirmod, near Calcutta. So he was a very good author. He had authored many books. Then he wrote, I think, a 2-volume book on Swami Vivekananda. And that was in Bengali language, I think. And that was published by one of our publication centers in India. And this particular publication center was called Udbodhan Center. And a senior Swami from that center came with those two copies of that book, which Swami Gambhirananda had written, and placed the books on his table while he was in his office. And after salutation and all, Swami Gambhirananda received him with a smile and all. Then that Swami said, "You have been doing a great service to our order, Maharaj." When he heard that, Swami Gambhirananda flared up. "How do you know that I have been giving service to the order? It is quite possible that I am writing these books to bolster my false ego." And hearing that monk felt very embarrassed, and he said, "Please forgive me, Maharaj, I made a mistake." Then Swami Gambhirananda became his usual smiling self again. He didn't have any false ego. I saw him. And when you think of something, his concentration was so great. There was he taught me something. I was working under him in the headquarters office, and at that time our office had some rooms also where the monks also resided. There was a monk room in which I stayed. It was close to the thoroughfare. There is a road going which would go to the river Ganga. And I was upstairs in a room, and Swami Gambhirananda said to me one day, "When you go out of your room, please lock the door of your room. Otherwise it is close to the thoroughfare and some poor man may be interested in entering into a room and steal things, he said. I said, I have nothing valuable there. And I had no possessions, so to say. Only there was a rickety old fan given by an elderly Swami that was in that room. And that room was also very hot. It would become very hot in summer. It practically had no windows or anything. It has one window, that's all. Anyway, so I said, there is nothing valuable there, Swamiji. So that's why I leave it open. He said, no, from now on you will lock the door of your room if you go out. Then I followed him, obeyed him. But one day, for some reason, I forgot to lock the door of the room where I stayed. And when I came back, I found that the door was locked. There was an office boy, I asked him, who locked the door? Then said, Swami Gambhiranandaji has locked the door. And the key is with him. I felt really embarrassed. And then I went to his room. And there he was sitting on an old easy chair. He would sit down there and he would think with great concentration of mind. When I entered there, I didn't have to say anything. He said to me, the key is on the table, take the key. This is how he taught me. Then I took that key, and from then onward I never forgot to lock that front door, lock the door of my room. He taught me that lesson. Swami Gambhiranandaji. I was talking about Swami Bhuteshanandaji's egolessness. When he became president of our order, then at that time I was in this country, so I would sometimes be able to visit India. And then during one of my visits, when I went there, of course I wanted to salute Swami Bhuteshanandaji. And Bhuteshanandaji had some surgery of his heart or something, I don't know. But after that, the doctor, he became well, but the doctor said he should walk every day a little. So he would walk in the building where he stayed, and with one or two attendant monks. Then I went to see him. And Gangacharan Maharaj once said to me, you see, I was fortunate to have lived for at least 10 years with a monk who had experienced God. And I was curious to know who that monk was. And he said that the monk was Swami Vishuddhanandaji. I said, how did you know that he had experienced God? Then he said he had heard from some people that he had experienced God. Then he said, at that time I was in the Morabadi ashrama, and Swami Vishuddhanandaji was in charge of that center. Some rich person had donated that house, so he was there. And he had spent most of his time in the shrine, meditating and all. Then, so one day, and a Marwari merchant came to him. and said that he would like to make a gift of a milk cow to our center. And Swami Vishuddhanandaji had some stomach problem and the doctors had asked him to drink milk. But where to find milk? Financial condition of the center was not great at all. And then when the Marwadi merchant was sitting in front of him, then he called us, Kangacharan Maharaj was saying, and we went there. Then he said to us, this kind gentleman wants to make a gift of a milk cow to us. So, if the cow comes, then we will get milk. But at the same time, you all have to take care of that cow. There are only 2 or 3 months, so you have to take care of that cow. At that time, you won't be able to sit down and meditate. Do your spiritual practice. What do you want to do? Do you want to drink milk or to do your spiritual practice? Swami Vishuddhanandaji asked us this question. And these 2 or 3 monks who that's all said, we'd rather do our spiritual practice. That pleased Swami Vishuddhanandaji. And he said to the Marwadi merchant, well, if they don't want the cow, so I can ask you to do something if you want. You can give us some money with the help of which we will buy milk and drink. But the Marwadi merchant did not agree. Yes, it is a very, according to our tradition, I think, it is a meritorious act to be giving a milk cow to some holy people. And Vishuddhanandaji also was loved by Swami Bhaskarananda. His name is very similar to that of mine. He was a highly evolved monk and he was in charge of the Benares Hospital Center for many years until he passed away. And one day, and he was fond of Swami Vireshwaranandaji, respected Vishuddhanandaji very much. So Vishuddhanandaji, he would invite Vishuddhanandaji to come and stay in the Benares hospital in the center. And then one day, when Swami Vishuddhanandaji was there, Swami Bhaskarananda, otherwise known as Buddha Maharaj, he said to him, Maharaj, I would ask your opinion about something which I have to do. Then he said that there is a monk here. He is a novitiate monk, but he has done something for which he cannot stay in the order. So I have to ask him to leave. So as you are here, I'm asking you what I should do. And Swami Vishuddhanandaji said to Bhaskaranandaji, you see, you have to forgive him. Because like us, he must have come to the monastic order because he loves Sri Ramakrishna. So you have to forgive him. So Vireshwaranandaji, Vishuddhanandaji was a picture of forgiveness, so to say. Yes. He did not see the defects of people. This is a lesson which we have to learn. And then when he was visiting the Shillong Ashrama once, at that time most probably he was vice president or president, he had to come there to give initiation to some devotees. And he was quite elderly at that time. So Shillong is a cold place. It is a city with the altitude of which is 1 mile. It is usually cold there. So in the bathroom, Swami Vishuddhanandaji had to take his shower in the morning. And his attendant monk, he put one bucket of very hot water and another bucket of cold water and another bucket. In another bucket there was lukewarm water. So Vishuddhanandaji entered the bathroom and by mistake he took a mugful of very hot water and poured that on his body. And the monk who was standing outside, he could hear him say, "Oh, my body is burnt." Then after that, immediately he said, no, it is the Divine Mother's will. So then Swami Vishuddhananda came out of the bathroom after that, after taking a shower. And that day, he could not give any spiritual initiation to anybody. But the monk who heard his comment, that is, his body was burnt due to the Divine Mother's will. The Swami Vishuddhanandaji had said that made a great impression on that monk's mind. That everything that would happen to him at that time was the Divine Mother's will. She was in that state. So, if we lead our spiritual life, that will happen to us also, eventually. Now I want to talk a little bit about Swami Muktananda. He was otherwise known as Bon Bihari Maharaj. He was a monk in our hospital center in Benares. I saw him a few times. He was quite healthy looking and all, but he was quite elderly when I saw him because I was a young monk at the time. And what would he do? For many years, he worked in that hospital which we run, a charitable hospital which our organization runs in Benares. And he is an expert in dressing the patients and taking post-surgical care of the patients. All these things he could do very well and efficiently. That's why the doctors loved him. And to him, that was his spiritual duty. Every day in the morning, he used to go to have his bath in the holy river Ganga, walking at least nearly a mile from the center. And then he'd come back, and then after eating a little, he'd immediately go to the hospital and start serving the patients. And he'd do that every day, hour after hour. And that was his spiritual practice. Because serve Jiva as Shiva, there is an expression. Jiva means the living beings as God himself. So he believed in that. And he would serve those patients. And if at all the patient would die, then the relatives would come and he would tell them some comforting words and they would find a little peace. He was such a person. When he became very old and he could not walk even, then one attendant would take him by a wheelchair to our hospital building, and there he would do his work. That was Bihari Maharaj, Swami Muktananda, a wonderful monk in the Benares Hospital Center. That's what he was. Serve man as God. This is a teaching we read in our scriptures, but in his life, this teaching became personified. And also, I have heard from many, and I have told you a few times that the Ramakrishna mission is Ramakrishna machine, the ego-crushing machine. Sri Ramakrishna, the divine incarnation. He used to say, Nahong, Nahong, Tumhu, Tumhu. Not I, but thou, thou. Sri Ramakrishna could not think that he was his body. He would refer to his body as this, he would say. This. I am not this body. He had that experience. He was a divine incarnation. He took a human form to serve the people. In our scriptures, there is a saying, Uttisthata, Jagrata, Prajva, Varan, Nibodhata. You are as though daydreaming, you wake up and finding the superior ones become spiritually enlightened. Then you will wake up from your dream. This is a dream world. And who are the superior ones? These divine incarnations. Sri Ramakrishna was one. He didn't have any false ego. When he was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Swami Vivekananda, at that time was Narendranath Datta and others. He was a young man. They brought a photographer. In those days, only photographers would take pictures. The photographer came, and when he was in Samadhi, then only one could take his pictures. Otherwise, he would not allow. I mean, Sri Ramakrishna would not allow. That photographer came and took his picture when he was in Samadhi. And he was seated. And the picture that you see is sitting there, and the picture behind me, you can look, and that is his picture when he was in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He had no body consciousness whatsoever. He had only divine consciousness. This is the highest spiritual achievement of any person, if at all it is possible for that person to have Samadhi. And Sri Ramakrishna, when he would be in that Samadhi, he had no body consciousness. The photographer came and saw that his face was looking down, as it were. It's not looking. So, as a photographer, he wanted to make his head erect. So the photographer put his fingers under the chin of Sri Ramakrishna in order to make his head erect. When he tried to do that, his body came up like it was made of feather, and the photographer became startled, and his camera dropped. And that front lens was a little broken. But even then he took that picture of Sri Ramakrishna. And that is the picture. And when the picture was taken, a copy was given to Sri Sarada Devi, the spiritual consort of Sri Ramakrishna, who is also a divine incarnation. And she showed that picture to Sri Ramakrishna. Then Sri Ramakrishna took a flower and put that flower in front of that picture. And Sarada Devi thought that it was a bad omen, most probably. Because why is he putting that? Then Sri Ramakrishna understood. He had nobody conscious. He thought that it was someone else's picture. Then he said, anyway, it doesn't matter. Don't be scared. A day will come when this picture will be in many, many homes. And that day has come already. Many thousand people have his picture in their homes. When I was a little boy, in our shrine his picture was there. And that was how many years ago? Nearly 90 years. Or my body is now 89 years old. So at that time I must have been 5 years old or something. At that time also his picture was in our shrine. So he did not have any body consciousness. He didn't have any selfishness. Because unselfishness is divinity. If I have the opportunity in the future, I may discuss this again. Now, I have already spoken for since 45 minutes. It is my time to stop. Thank you all for coming and listening to me. May the blessings of Sri Ramakrishna be upon all of us. Let no one of us suffer.